So we're here at the Rubell Family Collection with Jason Rubell. And Jason, thank you very much that you have time for us. I think you have a quite busy week.
An interesting, fun, exciting week. Art Basel is always the highlight of the Miami, at least the Miami cultural year.
Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the history of the Rubell Family Collection. I think your parents started the collection?
We started, my parents, Mera and Donald, probably 35 years ago, originally living in New York, and then kind of grew from the domestic into the public because of the growth of the collection over that period. My sister and I, Jennifer, were kind of inundated with it throughout our lives growing up in New York. We moved to Miami in the early 1990s. Bought this facility in 1994 and opened to the public as a not-for-profit foundation in 1996 to exhibit work from the collection. And now it basically keeps growing, and we do site exhibitions. This exhibition, Red Eye, Los Angeles artists, all work drawn from the collection. Begins with kind of the historical figures of Paul McCarthy. Excuse me. It's
okay.
Paul McCarthy, Mike Kelly, Charles Ray, Chris Burton, and it really looks at examining those older artists and their influence on the younger generation. It's an idea and a concept that we kind of came up with about 2 years ago, even though we've been collecting the work for quite a while. But it seemed vital and necessary to kind of, dive into it even deeper in a more committed way.
How would you describe the difference between your interest in art and that of your parents?
Well, we do it as a real collaborative. I think our sensibilities can be slightly different in terms of what interests each of our eyes. But we've been, as little kids, they were very gracious to us in bringing us in and making us feel part of the process, always including us in meeting with artists and galleries and going to studios. It was very much part of our life as children growing up in New York. So in a sunny way, it went from being a horrible thing that kids always hate to something that over time you become much more comfortable. But it is a collaborative, so the struggle is the challenge, and it is what makes it vital.
You started very early with collecting.
Well, personally, I started when I was 14 because I was, like I said, in Manhattan, kind of a fertile, great environment.
And so first image?
My first piece was a George Condo painting, a piece called Immigrants from 1983. Very kind of surrealist, cartoon, figurative work from George.
How would you describe your development or your what you like about art through the years?
Well, art. I think art is a great vehicle for ideas, and I think I enjoy the ideas. I mean, I think that it's one of the great vehicles for changing the way I look at the world and changing the way that basically I think everyone looks at the world. I think if people are open to it, I think it can. It's an impact on your life, but I think an impact on the world in general. I think that art does have power. I think that the power is maybe it's not easily discernible power, but it has power. Ideas are power. So I think that's pretty inspirational.
I think this shows very much also here in the Wynwood district, because I think it's developed very, very fast. And
well, we started collecting a lot of these works in the late 90s, so it wasn't. In that regard, we've been collecting them for a long time. But in terms of focusing on curating, putting it together, that was only in the last 2 years that we actually made the commitment to actually do the show and then really focus in on it. But it's not, like I said, it's something that's probably gone on for the last 15 years, really. But each year we try and come up with some interesting concepts from within the strength of the collection. When clearly the LA artists of the late 80s and early 90s were a real focal point and a real influence on where the collection went in, even in other directions. So.
Do you discuss often within the family, or did you discuss when you were young about art?
Every day. I mean, I think people talk about that with their kids. They grow up. I guess they talk about sports. I mean, we talk about art. I mean, it's not like we have to set aside a specific time of the day. It's a natural dialogue, and we work together. We have an office together. We don't obviously live together still, but the dialogue is always there. Yeah, for sure. I think that's that's what keeps us close, I think, because we share that. And I think I push them, they push me. My parents are very adventurous, exciting people to be around. So for me, that's always thrilling, yeah.
I do think will this develop further, or what are the project, a new project? Or?
We're always. I think whatever the new project. I mean, I can't really say exactly what it is because we're not necessarily sure. But I know for sure that it's going to involve something that comes out of the core of the essence of the collection. So it always, I think, will evolve out of what we're most intimately focused on. And kind of that's sort of like what we did here with the Red Eye Show, was identify kind of key figures that we were really kind of strongly committed to, and to grow the show from there. So I think that whatever happens next will be very much a similar kind of dissemination. Yeah.
How important is Art Basel for Miami?
Art Basel, I think really. Art Basel, made Miami a real cultural city. I think that we're a young city. We're not we don't have the history of a Basel or a New York or even a Los Angeles, which is also a young city but has a longer tradition of culture and museums. But I think Basel was such a great fertilizer for developing a scene and allowing the possibility of art to flourish here.
Okay.
Is this good? Yeah? No, yeah. Is that okay?